It's loading. And I'll cue you on Teams when to press play or when to share your screen.
Perfect.
All right, let me just get this going. Well, not picking that up.
Outstanding job keeping us abreast of all the hot topics in travel, and today is no exception. We have some great speakers, including our very own Allison Taylor, Chief Customer Officer for American Airlines. While 2020 has certainly been a challenging year for all of us, Some good things have come out of it. For one, you will never be on a cleaner plane. Also, many of us have had the opportunity to spend quality time with our immediate family and some of our closest friends. But we hope that you are ready to hit the road again. We are ready to welcome you back to our planes. We also hope that we have been effective at instilling confidence in you and your travelers that travel is safe. Your safety remains our #1 priority. With that in mind, we have been working to deliver a contactless experience, including biometric touch points at check-in, bag drop, security, lounges, and boarding. We are also working on streamlining the testing and documentation verification process for travelers via our VeriFly wellness app, wallet, if you will. With the app, customers can provide their itinerary information to determine travel requirements. They can then upload the testing and travel documentation, and the app verifies that a country's requirements are met. But please, if there is anything at all that you would like us to address, if you need any additional support from us, please do not hesitate to contact your American Airlines account manager, myself. We stand ready to support you in any way possible when you and your travelers are ready to be back in the air. So hopefully that will be soon. So now I will turn the program back over to Jay. Thank you.
Welcome to the Beat's 2020 Reader's Choice Awards presentation. Each year, the Beat fields a survey of subscribers asking them to choose each company in 6 major supplier segments that they most admire for its policies, management style, and service for business clients. We fielded our annual poll in November this year, and as in years past, allowed readers to write in their supplier choice in each category. As we have in each year we fielded this poll, any votes made for a subscriber's own company have been disqualified from the tally. And now, the Beat is pleased to announce the recipients of our 2020 Reader's Choice Awards. As Most Admired Technology Company, the readers of the Beat chose Amadeus. This is the 2nd straight year Amadeus has taken the top honor in the tech category. As Most Admired Travel Management Company, the readers of the Beat chose BCD Travel. This is now BCD Travel's 4th consecutive win in the TMC category. As Most Admired Airline, readers of the Beat selected Delta Airlines. For 9 consecutive years, Delta has been named our readers' most admired airline. And as Most Admired Payment Company, readers of the Beat chose American Express. American Express has taken top honors in this category for each of the 13 years the Beat has fielded its Reader's Choice poll. And next, as Most Admired Hotel Brand, readers of the Beat chose Hilton Hotels and Resorts. Hilton took back this category from last year's winner, Marriott. And as Most Admired Car Rental Brand, the readers of the Beat named National Car Rental. This makes it 5 straight years that National has taken the top honor in the rental car category. And now, finally, as Most Admired Overall Supplier of the Year, readers of the Beat chose Delta Airlines. This is the 9th consecutive year that Delta has won both the Admired Airline category and Overall Supplier of the Year. The Beat would like to congratulate all of our winners, and we'd like to thank our subscribers for participating.
All right, you're up, Susan.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Lori. How are you? Yay. Congratulations. So everybody, each year, the person who wins the award for the best speaker submission gets to give us the keynote. This year, we had a record number of people submit a suggested keynote address. A record number, Lori. Whoa, you had to get through so many people. That's amazing. The absolute right choice was chosen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce you to a woman who I admire so much that I follow, which may scare her a bit. and just can't wait to hear what she has to say today. She's the incoming CEO of ARC, not Art. She might do Art too. She's the incoming CEO of ARC. And I'd like to introduce you to Lori Racious. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. You know, there are some events I make a point to attend every year, and the Beat Live is certainly one of them. This gathering represents the very best in corporate travel, which is why I'm so honored to be with you here today. And there were a lot of impressive submissions. As I read them, I noticed a couple of common themes. First of all, clearly a theme that corporate travel today is just far too complicated, with costly processes that aren't delivering a consistent, high-quality traveler experience. There's a desire to connect these systems, the technologies and channels to make travel simpler for everyone involved. A second theme emerged that really was posed more as questions. How do we move forward from this uncertain time? How do we rebuild and find a way to thrive in this new environment? As Jen Cato from Travelport said in her proposal, travel is being reinvented in front of our eyes. It's time that we finally address the more fundamental issues we've collectively ignored for far too long and that continue to hold us back. And my good friend Carmen Carpenzano from New Travel argued in his submission that the path forward is to break free from the historical limitations of both the direct and indirect channels in favor of a truly omni-channel approach. So in my time with you today, I want to share my thoughts on the question that I believe is on many of our minds. And that question is, how can we address the pain points in our corporate travel ecosystem to create a traveler-centric future on the other side of this pandemic? Not just for all of us and the companies we represent, but for all the travelers we collectively serve. You know, a lot is being said about business travel. When will it return and what will it look like post-pandemic? A recent headline in the Wall Street Journal predicted the pandemic could permanently cut business travel by 36%. Certainly got my attention. And while there's consensus that travel recovery is dependent on widely available coronavirus vaccines, there's also considerable debate about the long-term prospects for business travel. Some have even predicted the majority of business travel will be replaced by virtual meetings. Certainly, some businesses may replace some types of travel with virtual meetings, but I'm a firm believer that nothing can replace the benefits of face-to-face meetings for connections that are critical to business success. Earlier today, you heard the fabulous Miss Holly Hageman's interview with Scott Kirby, CEO of United Airlines. I'm a big Scott Kirby fan. We at ARC have followed him closely throughout the year. His views have informed ours about the timing and factors that will influence air travel recovery. And in fact, in United's recent third quarter earnings call, Scott reaffirmed his optimism for business travel's rebound. But the favorite thing that he said for me is when he stated, the first time someone loses a sale to a competitor that showed up in person is the last time they try to make a sales call on Zoom. Business travel is not going away. In the long term, I believe it will come roaring back. But in the nearer term, it's going to need to be more strategic. My prediction is once vaccines become widely available, the vanguard leading the return of business travel will be your organization's top talent, those elite business travelers that are served by every well-designed managed travel program. These travelers are the best salespeople, the skilled technology professionals, the trusted relationship builders, and of course, the senior leadership leading the way. This is your top talent. They're hardworking and endlessly giving of their own personal time to ensure the success of their company. They have high expectations. And for those traveling before the new vaccines are widely distributed, they also have new health and safety related risks on top of their mind as well. These travelers deserve so much value because they deliver so much value for the companies they work for. So the question is, what can we do for them? When they take to the skies again, we can offer them a more traveler-centric, seamless, intuitive, omni-channel experience they so richly deserve. In other words, give them what they want. Every corporate travel program reflects that company's culture while meeting the needs of a wide variety of types of trips and types of travelers. The design of any specific travel program is going to reflect decisions made around common polarities in travel management systems. But those decisions are also shaped by the actual capabilities and tools that are available in the marketplace to manage these polarities. What do I even mean by polarities? Polarities are opposite, contradictory tensions in any complex system. And I think it's fair to say that the corporate travel ecosystem qualifies as complex. These polarities form interdependent pairs that need each other. Neither is sufficient alone. They are incomplete without the other. Each side of a polarity has benefits to offer. Neither of the two sides are bad. A strong polarity management design in a complex system like a corporate travel program is not about either or trade-offs. It's all about both and choices. So what do polarities look like in a business travel program? Since I'm getting all kind of academic on you, and it wouldn't be a Zoom call without a PowerPoint slide or two, let me share my screen. So here are two common examples of polarities found in a corporate travel management program. These polarity pairs are flexibility versus control and full service versus self-service. So a benefit of control, for example, would be ensuring negotiated rates are consistently utilized to deliver the savings that are expected under that negotiation. Another example of the benefit of control in a travel management program is having access to all the travel data to ensure duty of care. So at the other end of this polarity pair is the benefits related to flexibility. Giving travelers more options would be an example of flexibility, such as multiple preferred suppliers as opposed to just one, or permitting direct bookings for travelers that know what they want and enjoy that experience. For the polarity pair of full service versus self-service, the benefit of full service is very obvious. It's the availability of dedicated advisors, available 24/7. They're knowledgeable about the many elements of a corporate travel program, and they're ready to assist your travelers with everything from complex itineraries to major disruptions. The benefits of self-service also include the speed and ease of using airline and hotel mobile apps. These apps have become so intuitive and so helpful, offering travelers real-time, rich information and product options that are tailored to their specific needs and status. A typical corporate travel program today may look more like this. Control and full service are emphasized with less flexibility and self-service available. Again, with polarities in a complex system, there are no rights or wrongs, just decisions to be made about what's most important for a given program. However, let's also be honest and less academic. Until very recently, corporate travel buyers have faced considerable obstacles if they want to offer more flexibility and self-service in their programs without sacrificing the benefits of control and full service. To design a travel program that looks like the one on this slide, with a balance of these two polarity pairs, offering the benefits of flexibility, control, full and self-service, is going to require new capabilities. Let me stop sharing. Many elite travelers enjoy the benefits of using their favorite airline's mobile app. Now imagine if when they log into that app, their loyalty number recognizes their company affiliation as well. And when they search for travel and indicate it's a business trip, their corporate policy and negotiated discounts are reflected in the search results. And behind the scenes, imagine a central source of company and individual traveler profiles and policies. data that can be fed seamlessly to travel suppliers to inform those direct bookings and to TMCs for servicing. Now imagine the data from all of those transactions flowing into a shared ledger or a blockchain with each partner in the travel program, the airline, the hotel, the buyer, the TMC, the duty of care provider, even ARC, all having access to the data at the very same time. Or alternatively, imagine the data from supplier direct bookings being captured via their email confirmations automatically with data flows to the same program partners I just mentioned. The exciting news is we do not have to imagine this world as being in some far off distant future. It's real and we can make it real today. Some of these tools are available today. The rest are in development, being piloted, and will be widely available in 2021. These new capabilities will give corporate travel buyers more choices so they can design a truly traveler-centric, less costly, future-proofed omni-channel travel program that strikes the right balance for that organization between the polarities of flexibility versus control and self-service versus full service. Now, in normal times, it can be really difficult for successful, well-established companies to innovate. The products and commercial relationships that make their business model work can sometimes hinder innovation. It goes without saying that these are not normal times. Many of our colleagues have lost their jobs. Our industry remains in crisis. So much is out of our control. And the truth is that no travel company is highly successful now. The pandemic has disrupted everyone. The only thing worse than this incredibly difficult, painful year would be to sit on the sidelines and not seize this opportunity to innovate for a better future. So let's start now. So that when business travel does pick up again and your top talent once again takes to the skies, these high-value corporate travelers will have something to celebrate. On behalf of all of us at ARC, we wish you the very best for the holidays. Stay safe, stay well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. That was amazing. Oh, Omnichannel. My heart and soul belongs to Omnichannel now. So thank you so much. It's so great to know it's here now. And more importantly, ARC is going to help us lead the way. You know, I tell everybody who will listen to me, Lori, if ARC can do it, we can all do it, right? So come
Very true.
on,
Very
let's
true.
follow ARC. Let's get on board. Let's do some exciting things. And what better time to make the changes when travel's a little slow? So when it ramps back up, we're ready to go. I guarantee the millennial generation is going to jump in here. Thank you, Lori. Do we have any questions? I have a question. Here it comes. Okay, from Patrick Linehan. Hi, Patrick. How are you? ARC already has a deep airline relationship. It is, of course, they do, of course, control the North American airline ticketing reconciliation process. And with new travel investment has access to a closely aligned OBT distribution tool. Do you see ARC entering the arena to compete with the TMCs? If so, what segment size of the corporate travel market is most appropriate for your offering? Is your offering insight in your strategic direction to redesigning ARC into a distribution company? I think he's cheating. That's 3 questions.
I say that's a long question.
I'm cheating on the questions.
That's a long question, and it is true that we have an investment in New Travel, and I'm a big fan of what New Travel is bringing to the marketplace, but ARC is no strategic goal to become a TMC or compete with the TMCs. You know, we love where we sit in the ecosystem. You know, we have really important relationships with all the key stakeholders. Certainly in the air travel, not so much with like other segments of the industry, but you know, TMCs and agencies are our reason for existing, and we're certainly, you know, owned by a number of fabulous airlines, and we are certainly cognizant of their needs. And our stakeholders include the GDSs and a number of technology providers. We sit in the middle of a lot of this stuff, and in no way are we looking to disintermediate any one of our really valued stakeholders.
Thank you, Lori. That's a perfect omni-channel answer. Omni-channel is about many channels.
That's right.
Everybody has room in the omni-channel. No need to compete. I
That's
love
right.
what you said. Any more questions? Let me check. Hold on. I have to switch systems for a second when I do that. Okay. Well, you're getting a lot of kudos. I don't have any more questions, but thank you so much. Great keynote presentation. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation about ARC and the new omni-channel solution.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so I think it's still me coming in here to introduce the next segment that's coming up. I also want to have this opportunity. Hi, Tony. I also want to have this next opportunity as Tony's ramping up there, Tony. I want to let Tony know, congratulate the Reader's Choice Award winners. Wow, how cool is that? I didn't get a chance to say that before. I'm glad I get a chance to say that now. So next up, my brother from a different mother, the guy who thinks he's the funniest guy in travel, but he's the second funniest person in travel. Yours truly. So one year we have Jay promising a laugh off next year when we're live. That's going to be fun. And Tony and I will bring a whole bunch of people to the table and host the first laugh off of travel. But ladies and gentlemen, one of our favorite things to do at the Beat is Tony gets to talk to the people who were the runners up of the vote for the keynote address, and Tony's going to take over and do the views panel. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, everybody who's out there. As Susan said, this is one of the events that we've always done, or one of the sessions at the Views that we've always done. I really enjoy it. I normally enjoy the small, intimate audience of about 120 or so that are typically there. And I kind of let it rip because in a small audience, the word just doesn't get out that easily. But today with 600 or 700 people on a Zoom call, I'll probably be a little more cautious about what I say. But that aside, let me get started here because we got 5 phenomenal presentations. I'm going to kick off by kind of walking you through what we do here, right? So the Views panel is all of the folks that you voted not to hear from. I mean, these are kind of the also-rans. I kind of joke around and take a shot at them here. But these are today, as Susan and Jay mentioned earlier, we had a phenomenal number of submissions. Lori did a really nice job. Well done there as our keynote. But we've got 5 really good presentations that we're going to get through today. There's 2 parts to this session. In the first part, each speaker will be given 5 minutes to deliver their keynote. We'll have a very quick Q&A that will follow that. And then the second part, whatever time we have remaining, we'll have a thought leadership panel using a concept I call Who Told You That?, where I will present a very thought-provoking industry quote, and then I'll have my subject matter expert panelists discuss the quote. So that's the session for today. We didn't pick straws. We did alphabetical by last name to determine the order of our speakers today. So we'll be starting with Ariel Cohen, the CEO of TripActions. We'll go to Tracy, Michael, Allison, and Katie in that order. I'm going to ask if, I think I see everybody is on. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to ask Ariel to grab hold. Ariel, if you would just confirm that you're ready to rock and roll, I will start the clock. And guys, I'm very judicious about the use of time here. So you've only got 5 minutes, and I'm going to jump in if you go above the 5. But Ariel, over to you. Welcome, and take it away.
Thank you so much, and I'm so happy to be here and really to share, the TripActions thinking and vision of everything of travel and expense of T&E. So let's start. So first of all, what you see here is a typical travel and expense solution, and it's pretty messy. You need so many systems, so many vendors, third parties. You need a booking tool, a TMC, a duty of care solution, and on top of this, expense management and payment solutions. So it's extremely, extremely messy and challenging. And to make it even more challenging, everything about purchasing stuff have changed. If you think about the corporate today, it is our employees that are deciding whether they're going to use Zoom or WebEx. they also have a pretty big saying of how their next business trip will look like. So that's actually a fairly complex environment. It actually creates a pain for everybody that are involved in the process. The employees, the business travel managers, the finance teams, everybody, and it's messy. And our approach to the future of travel and expense is that it all needs to be unified. The TMC, the OBT, all of the third party, especially payment and expenses, it all needs to come together. And this unification will actually save a lot of time for everybody that are involved and will reduce a lot of headache. There is another important thing that was happening in the last few years, and this is our users and what they are used to using. So, in our personal life, where you're all using DoorDash and Netflix and apps that are basically giving us what we need at the moment, right now. In our work life, we've moved to Zoom, we've moved to DocuSign. These kind of apps and solutions are becoming the standards. And this is really what TripActions is all about. We have an integrated solution that combines all of your business needs with a consumer-like experience. And you can see, here, look how beautiful it is. It looks exactly like system like Zoom or DoorDash. And we really see TripActions as the solution that replaces them all, everything. And what you're really getting out of it, for you as a business travel manager, as a CFO, as an accountant, is a global unified visibility of everything. All of your spend, from travel to software, where your employees are, you can impact their safety, everything, you can have a policy, you can decide while your employees are getting a lot of freedom to make their choices. And I thought that it would be a great idea, since we've recently launched the latest edition of TripActions Liquid, which really give you a good idea of how we look at the future of T&E. I wanted to share this video with you.
Welcome to the era of no expenses. Introducing TripActions Liquid, the modern solution that transcends expense management so you no longer have to deal with the hassles of expenses. Employees are empowered to pay for the things they need using physical or virtual cards. Whether it's paying for a team event, training courses, office supplies, research publication, or whatever it may be. And of course, TripActions Liquid can take care of out-of-pocket expenses and even reimburse employees within a day. Leveraging smart approval technology that applies your company's policy in real time means managers only need to focus on flagged transactions rather than every single transaction in an expense report. With receipts and payment details captured automatically, accounting teams can accelerate month-end close to just minutes with automated reconciliation. And finance leaders can finally gain real-time control and granular visibility into all business spend in seconds for accurate forecasting and budgeting. TripActions Liquid is the only end-to-end business spend management platform combining corporate travel, expense, recurring subscriptions, and spot purchasing to easily and efficiently manage the entire spend ecosystem of your business. Join the world's most innovative companies by switching to modern expense management with TripActions Liquid, so your employees can focus on their best work, not paperwork.
So with that, thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to hear the rest of the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel. Well done. A little bit of a shameless pitch, but I'm going to ask you a couple of questions anyway.
Sure.
On the Liquid side, it's a payment vehicle. If if a corporation has a current relationship with a payment vehicle, would they need to replace that with Liquid?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Is that me or you, the alarm?
No, that's me. You actually were 15 minutes. You were 15 seconds early, so that was me running my buzzer.
Okay. Yeah, I was not sure. No, it's a really good question. TripActions, we as a company always believed in choice. So, for example, when you're buying an hotel in our system, you get content from every vendor that is out there, right? So you get content directly from the hotel, you get content from Expedia, from bookings, from Ctrip, and we are always very much into choice, giving choice for our customers and for our users. And the same with Liquid. We think that we have really good offering with Liquid, but when you're using our travel platform, you can use any payment solution that you want to. In fact, we have partnerships with guys like Conforma and others. So we really believe in the choice of the customer to get the level of automation that we are achieving with expense management, which means that you don't need to do anything. So when you're using a Liquid credit card, there is no such thing of submitting an expense, and you don't need to reconcile, and you don't need to do anything. To get to that level of automation, you will have to use our own credit card, the Liquid.
The Liquid card will give you the enhanced automation. If you have your own current card, that would be off the table. Okay.
Yeah, it would work, but you will not be able to achieve it. And it's actually a technology limitation. That's the reason.
Okay, fair enough. Second, you talked about replacing everybody, which is an interesting concept. What target audience is this aimed at? I mean, if you have a global multinational program where you're deployed in 15, 20 countries, like many enterprise-sized companies are, does this fit, or are you still going to have multiple partnerships? And can it work in a world where you're only serving part of the company's needs?
Sure. First of all, I think that what the business travel industry was really good at is to compete and partner, right? And this drives the choice. That's not unique for TripActions. I think people have been doing it for years. And I think that's also our approach. You can, let's take duty of care as an example. When you go to our platform, you have duty of care as an out-of-the-box solution. And we think that it covers probably 90% of what you need. But there is the 10% that probably we are not covering. And because of it, we have partnerships with duty of care solutions. So at the end of the day, a customer can choose, hey, I want most of the things from TripActions, but I don't want the duty of care solution from TripActions. That goes to payments and other things. So we are very much integrated to other solutions. But if you think about COVID, during COVID, we grew our book of business by more than 50%. Okay, so that's huge. And a lot of this is in the enterprise, right? So a lot of these are in customers like, Qualcomm and Netflix and AECOM and so on. And these customers are customers that in some of the cases have chosen us for both Liquid and the travel solution.
Good enough. Thank you, Ariel. Thanks very much for sharing how well TripActions is doing. I'd like to move to our second presenter today, which is going to be Tracy. Tracy, I don't know if you have a presentation you're going to use, but if you do, you can grab the screen. Great, excellent. So you will grab the screen, and over to Tracy Mercer-Saber. Tracy, welcome.
All right, you got me there? You see my screen and we good?
Yeah, we're good. Thanks, Tracy.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. So, let's go back. We started 2020 with a fantastic plan. We both personally and professionally laid out our goals, and we were ready to go. Q1 was kicking off, and bam, the curve in the road happened. And let's face it, it's been an incredibly challenging one, both personally and professionally, and certainly one that's been tough in our industry. With all of these changes, though, one thing that I will say that's been even more clear is the need for hearing what our travelers want. Travelers' needs, expectations, and desires are continuing to change and evolve, but they're not stopping. And if anything that this huge curve in the road has shown us, it's that personalization and fulfilling that is going to be more important than ever. And that's not just in travel, that's across the board. A number of companies are focusing on this, with 89% of digital businesses today investing in personalization. Amazon alone, which is a name probably many of us are familiar with these days, is spending over $4 billion on this transformation. Intelligent offers, as Sabre sees it, are at the core of the transformation. Now, what do I mean when I say an intelligent offer? Well, an intelligent offer is one that meets your unique preferences or that traveler's unique preferences. It's the right thing at the right time in the right place, no matter what channel. We've heard omni-channel and hashtag omni-channel all day today, no matter what channel this person is shopping through. But this isn't something that we can be achieved alone. It's going to be AI and ML capabilities that sense, analyze, and predict customer behaviors that enable airlines, agencies, corporations, and all others in the mix to take their retailing and digital customer experience and offerings to the next level. Perhaps the pandemic has actually spurred this level of innovation more than many of us could have predicted. And for some of us, at least in the industry, it's been a time where it's been a unique opportunity to create transformation. So while it's a long and winding road that we have ahead of us, we started this road at Sabre about 3 years ago. And one thing that I think is incredibly true is that vision of a new travel marketplace for personalized travel, pandemic or not, no matter what you are, we're going to be continuing down this long-term vision. As we see it, the utopia of intelligent offers in the business travel sector is going to be a travel ecosystem that will fully change to dynamic content. No, long are gone are the days of static rules. Travel suppliers are going to be able to price and bundle in real time, regardless of channel. And this is going to be delivered and presented in a way that not only meets the things that we know are important, like policy and duty of care, particularly in these times, but it does it in a way that all those corporate travel requirements are going to be delivered and presented easily. So how do we arrive at intelligent offer for a business traveler? Well, I think we've hit on a few things already today. We have to aggregate and cross-shop. There needs to be multiple sources of content with multiple policy compliant suppliers and brands, while presenting all of that in a normalized, easy way for the traveler. It's going to apply advanced machine learning models to determine if the offers fit in the context of that specific trip, while personalized for that individual traveler. And what do I mean by that? So think about your loyalty status as an example. That's what we see. Over the last several years, we've made some advancements in this. And one of the critical areas of this is our partnership with Google Cloud. Today, Sabre and Google Cloud teams are working literally side by side in partnership, bringing together this deep knowledge for both. This is grounded in and designed for you and your customers, all of us here at this event. We already have deployed Sabre Travel AI, which is a platform powered by Google Cloud AI technology and advanced machine learning. And that technology that's being deployed, it senses, analyzes, predicts customers' behavior, and it's fueled with Sabre's real-time marketplace data, insights, and travel knowledge. As an example, there was a recent announcement about our smart retail engine. And this actually gives the flexibility for travel suppliers, and in the future, it will be for our agency partners to develop the products that will enable intelligent offers for their customers. We're already delivering these powerful solutions, dynamic pricing and dynamic availability. And we know that the fulfillment and servicing of these through the GDS or any channel is going to be of utmost importance. And this is also going to be realized through this framework. So while we sit back and none of us really want to know or commit to when this ends and when travel comes back and what size it is, we do see that this turbulent COVID road ahead, that we have to continue to make steadfast progress in this. And that is something that we're doing. And intelligent offers are at the core of this transformation, both the ability for travel suppliers to create and distribute, but also the ability for travel buyers to consume and compare those in an efficient way. So no crisis goes to waste. Let's not waste this crisis as an industry and really work to transform ourselves. And as I like to say, on any good road trip, you want a good partner that's sitting by your side. So who are you going to pick as your path forward?
Okay, Tracy, thanks. Nicely done. I got a question on policy because you mentioned it. It's a critical element of the traditional business travel program. How does the policy get applied here? When you start to aggregate content from a bunch of different places, who's got responsibility for applying the policy to make sure that the corporate requirements are part of that decision-making process for the individual?
Absolutely. So as we see it, policy has to be a extrapolated layer in the technology in which that can independently be applied. And I think anytime we talk about omni-channel, a lot of people say that, marketers mean it. What does it actually mean? Start with the end traveler in mind. And if that end traveler is not going to get paid back, if they're not compliant with policy, and if that travel manager doesn't know duty of care, you have to be able to have that layer of a policy engine that can be applied agnostic and independent of booking channel. So that still falls with the, if it's the travel management company or whoever is going to be the holder and the fulfiller of that travel, but that can be enabled through multiple ways.
Give me one. I assume an OBT is in the play here, but I guess I'm looking for, because that has been historically an OBT owned area, right? We apply policy, or even in the agency environment, the people that are talking to the travelers are aware of the policy and can apply it. But I'm guessing that you say there's an extrapolated layer that sits on top in the omni-channel environment. Is there a third party you think is going to deliver this, or is this going to be a manifestation of some technology that travel agencies can deploy?
I think it's going to be certainly Sabre is going to be working on services like that. Okay. I would expect to see others, but when you think about platforms, as you hear across the board, what the platforms allow is you to decouple or extrapolate that layer of policy as an independent module, an independent thing you could plug in. Today, in many of the OBTs or corporate booking tools or agent booking tools, that layer hasn't been extrapolated. To your point, it's coupled, it's like ingrained. As soon as that gets pulled out, it's like a layer in a cake. And now that is a servicing that we can make available agnostic of channel. And I think that's going to be incredibly critical, that we have the foundation and that deep technical transformation that's actually going to enable that.
Got it. Okay, well done. Thank you, Tracy. All right, our next keynote presenter is Michael Rouse from FCM Travel Solutions. Michael, are you ready? You're going to grab the screen. You have some slides for us, or are you just talking?
I am. There we are. Camera's up, and I do have some slides. Are you seeing the slides?
We are indeed, Michael.
Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for this. So today I kind of wanted to touch on some of the emerging themes that we're seeing that will be driving business travel as we go into 2021 and beyond. And really, if we look at travel programs themselves, they're really complex beasts. I think Ariel touched on it as well in his presentation. There's a lot of components that go into a travel program: preferred suppliers, payment platforms, travel policy, booking tools, TMC partner. And it's the travel manager's role to try and put all of these pieces together to deliver on the objectives. And talking with our customers, we really see that there's three emerging themes in travel objectives coming out and going into next year. And that's around reduced travel budget in a lot of cases, a focus on traveler well-being, and this goes beyond duty of care, but also touches on aspects of health, of stress, of comfort, and then looking at reducing environmental impact, right? Being a good corporate citizen and looking at elements of sustainability. And there's a lot of providers out there that can provide solutions to help you achieve your objectives in these space. But trying to put all of those together can often lead to a bit of confusion. It's quite complex, right? So we sort of see that as the travel technology ecosystem grows, this increased choice can lead to degraded user experience or confusion among your travelers or your travel community. So where do you start in this process? And really, we think there's sort of 4 steps you can take to help plan this evolution. The first one is obviously going back to the basics and really understanding your organization, where it is today, and also where it will be going moving forward, right? Are you faced with reduced travel budgets, looking at, maybe perhaps reduced revenue, or if you're in an industry that might be still affected by pandemic lockdown? Do you understand, or can you measure the return on investment for your travel spend? Perhaps those are not concerns of your organization. Perhaps the organization is more on looking after the traveler well-being or sustainability aspects, right? Is your travel community comfortable going back into travel? Do you understand the risks that are involved, or are there maybe safer or greener ways to travel? Probably, you're looking at elements of all 3, right? So finding that right balance. So I think once you've understood, sort of relooked at the priorities of your organization, then it's time to formulate a strategy, formulate a plan. And here it's really key to make sure you've got the input from all the stakeholders in your organization and their buy-in into the plans that you're trying to put forward. right? Really focus on what's sort of important moving forward, and making sure you have the data insights to sort of measure your success in these cases, and avoid distractions, right? Really focus on the must-haves and put some of the other elements for something maybe moving forward later on. And I think the third element here is really understanding how all of this is going to impact your traveler experience, right? So travelers will use what they like and what they understand, and will find ways around what they don't. So this needs to be much more than a box ticking exercise. Adoption will matter and be key for success. So understand what your existing environment has, what can change, what should change, and also what cannot change. Right? And then select the right partner for you. So we think the TMC is an invaluable partner in this space to help you create that ecosystem that's right for you. But that might be something that requires more flexibility, so maximum flexibility, even if it is at the detriment of some user experience. Perhaps it's less complex and you really need to focus much more on user experience, and you don't need as much flexibility or choice. Perhaps you're looking for a balance of the two, where you can get some flexibility, or the flexibility you need, but still focus on delivering a high user experience, right? Find that sweet spot sort of between the two. Our approach has been in the last year to focus a lot on delivering on these three vectors through our mobile application. And we're actually going to be launching a new omni-channel experience at the beginning of Q1, where we take these principles down and deliver them through our mobile or our online application, but also ensure that we can offer the same through our offline servicing, right? So 2021 is going to be a year of change. I think it's really important to make sure that you're clear on your priorities as an organization, particularly around the elements of sustainability, travel spend, and traveler well-being. And then also think about how you're going to restart your travel program, right? How will you communicate these new changes to your travel community and to your partners? And how will you measure the success on these new objectives that you have? And also be flexible, right? 2021 is going to be a dynamic year. It's going to be a year of continuous change. So you're going to need programs that can flex and can adapt to this evolving change over time. And finally, make sure you surround yourself with the right partners that can help you succeed, right? This is not something that organizations will be going through alone. There's a lot of partners out there. It's important to choose the ones that are right for you, that can help you succeed in your objectives. And that's sort of what I wanted to cover today as we look at some of the changes going through into next year.
Thank you very much, Michael. Well done. A couple questions for you as well.
Sure.
Who do you think manages the liability aspect of getting back to travel? Where do you think that sits in a company? And what can we do to kind of, because I think it's a very big part of the conversation, right? Our company is going to be comfortable putting people on the road. So I'd love your opinion.
I think it's an element of all parties involved. It's an element of the company to decide what risk they're willing to take, and they have an aspect of, duty of care is on the more legal side of it, and they've got a duty to provide care. There's risk mitigation, right? Am I putting my company at risk by jeopardizing the health and safety of our people? But then there's that traveler well-being. Am I looking after and making sure I'm taking the interests of all my travelers into account? And it's up to the traveler themselves, I think, as well. Sort of, some travelers will feel comfortable, some won't. Some want to get back out on the road, and some want to be still working from home if possible, or minimizing their exposure. And it's wrong to say it's a one size fits all. So I think it's sort of a shared responsibility. And even the suppliers of technology and content have an element to play in there as well, to deliver the information that's necessary to make the right decisions.
Very good. Okay, I have one other question real quick. Who do you think leads the way back? Who's going to be the cheerleader? Should it be the travel manager, the risk person? Should it be the employees that start saying, "Hey, I want to get back on the road"? We've heard this pent up demand. How do you kind of quantify that and let it loose?
It goes back to understanding your organization, right? Is the organization ready to get that back? Is there Is there travel budget available? Is the right environment in place to protect and offer the safety or the information that's necessary? Afterwards, if travelers see that they're being hampered in their ability to succeed in their job, they have a right as well to say,
Speak up.
let me back out there. So I think, again, it's a good dialogue that needs to happen. And it's not a one size fits all or one right answer.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Okay, let's move on to our fourth presenter, moving right along. You know her, you love her, you can't live without her. That's the Chief Customer Officer at American Airlines. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Allison Taylor. Allison, over to you.
How are you? Hope
Very
you're
good.
feeling well. And
Thank
I can
you.
see that you're safely at home, which is great. And look, thank you for all the presentations today. They've really been interesting. And it's always great to hear from our colleagues, right? I want to talk about something slightly different today. And I hope you don't mind that I take a different tact. It's just that it's very important, I think, during this time to care for our teams. All of us have customers and they're at the very center of why we exist. But I felt that, you know, and I was promoted in the middle of a pandemic, and now I've got over 7,000 team members at American, and, you know, I'm responsible for these team members during a pandemic and during the most difficult of times. So I really felt that it was my role to look after the team and care for the team, and they, who are experts, will look after the customers. And of course, we have a ways to go with that. We're very clear about where we are in our journey. But I've got to tell you, the customer is always at the very center. And so I'm just going to talk about 5 things today that helped me. And I hope that in a small way, they might help you as well. I found it was very important to be, number one, very transparent with people. Even if you have negative or bad news, tell them as soon as you can, and don't keep those things close, because transparency during a time of fear is really helpful. And I've got to say, we've had many notes from customers and from team members telling us that because we were so transparent, even if it's about difficult things like mandating masks on board or across the airport journey, it was better to know. So transparency is number one. Even if you have to be providing negative news, provide it in a caring and empathetic way, understanding what that other person must be feeling. If they're perhaps being told something, you know, they never wanted to hear. And so, of course, it's also, when you are transparent, you also need to be accessible. It's no use sitting in your ivory tower, and I am here at our head office in Dallas and have been coming in the entire time, because I don't know if any of you saw, but we have a very large office that it's easy for us to be socially distant. We're always wearing our masks. But it's also, we felt important to be accessible. We have flight attendants and pilots who have to look after our 2,000-3,000 flights a day. And we needed to be there for them, and we needed to be accessible for them, whether that be virtually or in person. And so I give out my phone number as well to all my team members and to all my customers, because that helps me understand what's important to people and let them know that I will be there for them. I do not want to be one of those corporate head office geeks you never see and provides only a memo occasionally. I want to be with the team, and you want to be standing side by side, especially during very difficult times. Also, of course, it's about clear prioritization. You really owe that to your team. And I think, I don't know about you, but our prioritizations needed to be tweaked and changed and iterated every week, because as the virus grew, and then as we went into then over summer, a time of ups and downs in our business, and understanding of when COVID was going to spike again and what that does to our bookings and to our network, I found it was very important to be clear and clearly set goals for the team, even if those prioritization needs to change. And I actually think that really helps people to know where that North Star is extremely, I think, critical for everyone. And I know you get that, but during the difficult times, especially as we were losing billions of dollars in revenue from that time in February and March and April, we very quickly got together. We meet every day. We prioritize every day for our customers and our team. And then, of course, course, communicate, communicate, communicate. So while this is number 4 on my list of the 5, I believe that this is one of the most important. You must keep people up to date. We have stand-up huddles, we have daily virtual calls, we have calls, thousands of them, with our customers and of course our partners. You know, whether that be frankly, you know, with the Flight Centre or Sabo, etc. Partners are just so important, or TripActions, to get you through this together. And communicating with the partners meant that great things happened. Like GBTA, their Ready Safe Travel program, that came out as a result of that communication together. Also, Let's Get Together on the B2C side, which we even turned over our whole of AA.com and white labeled with that, just to make sure that we were communicating with our consumers and part of the bigger travel efforts to motivate business. So communication was key. We did see other partners perhaps that kept way too much to themselves. We can only get through this together as a travel team, and communicating with my team, whether that be those who may have been hospitalized with COVID, you need to communicate. Whether those that are coming into the office or whether those are working quite rightly virtually at home. We had a communication and corporate communication and global engagement plan that really has held us in very good stead. And of course, last, showing appreciation. Oh my goodness, this year couldn't have been more confronting for all of us. And showing recognition, whether formal or informal, and recognizing your team, whether or not that's just looking in their eye and having a one-on-one virtual call with them, or right here at the office where I have my team. So appreciation for our flight attendants. Imagine if you're a flight attendant every day mandating masks. Now, I must say that most consumers have been great. It's under 1% that actually refuse to wear their mask. So only a small issue. But imagine you're that flight attendant asking that customer to wear their mask. We need to appreciate that. And I have to tell you, we have had thousands and thousands of letters to American. They're about our flight attendants and how grateful they were to our flight attendants for asking someone else on the flight to please just remind them to put that mask up above their nose or put the mask back on as well. So showing appreciation, and thank you to those who have written in as well. So I believe those 5 things hold us all in good stead. We need to remember them every day, because sometimes when things are so hard and multi-layered, because in the middle of COVID, of course, we also had the murders of George Floyd. We received thousands of letters and complaints through to customer relations. And so, you know, these things are confronting and hard. And so being there for your team is really key. So transparency, accessibility, making sure you clearly prioritize for your team, communicate, and then of course, appreciate. And that's all I wanted to share today. And I hope that look forward to all of you having a great 2021, because we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you so much, Allison. Really phenomenal words of advice, heartfelt. I have a couple questions though. Being an old airline guy who worked at an airport, and you know, you've got your holidays coming up. How do you balance the needs of the service when you start to consider employees? I don't want to work on Christmas Day, but you're a junior, right? I don't want to go out in the car, right? There are so many elements where it's difficult, but you have to, you know, how do you strike that right balance between the needs of the service? Because people have to be there to do their jobs.
That's right. And I think most of our team understand that. And so what we see is actually we have seen people really step up during this hard time. We are not seeing difficulties getting people to come to work at the airports, on the flights, etc. In fact, we find they feel proud. They want to help American and help our customers through this. So not an issue for us. It wasn't an issue during Thanksgiving, where we, you know, we're flying over, you know, 300, 400,000 customers a day. And so we don't expect any issues over Christmas.
Very good. Okay. Thank you, Allison. Good luck with the new gig. Thank you for your session today. Okay, our final presenter for this afternoon, Katie Virtue. I see she's already queued up. Katie from Festive Road. Katie, it's over to you.
Great. Thank you, Tony. Share my screen. All right. Thank you, everyone. Excited to be here to talk about the pathway to purposeful travel. 50% of business travel will go away, according to Bill Gates. He also predicted that there'll be a very high threshold for conducting business trips now that working from home is more feasible. I'm sure many of you have reacted to this prediction favorably or unfavorably. My favorite reaction was someone who pointed out that in 2004, Bill Gates also said email spam would be gone in 2 years. Sorry, Bill, but my Microsoft Outlook junk folder is still filled every day. It's not about whether he'll be right or wrong. There are different predictions every day about the return of business travel. What these do demonstrate is that no matter what the number is, things are changing and business travel will be different. Imagine for 1 minute that business travel is reduced by 50%. But what if the remaining 50% has twice the value, twice the impact, twice the return? Smaller in volume, but more meaningful to corporations. Imagine the amplified importance of our industry. For this to happen, we need to change our view. We've been so focused on the how of travel, the logistics of a trip, the booking process. Of course, that was critical this year as we needed to define and implement permissible travel to wade through the complexities across government, company, and employees. But a focus on how does not strategically align with business goals. And there's currently pressure to demonstrate the value of travel as work practices are changing due to remote work, virtual meetings, work from anywhere trends, and a new generation that's impacting work culture. There is a light shining on travel due to the pandemic and company returns to work. So we have the voice and we have the opportunity to shape the role of travel and how we work. We shouldn't just sit back and take the outcomes. We have the opportunity to return to travel with purpose. The purposeful travel model that we're creating with the sector is built around the why of travel. It helps companies align travel purpose with culture and business goals. It allows travel to be strategically managed using purpose as a catalyst to guide every aspect of the program. It moves travel from being viewed as a cost to being an asset. Traditionally, companies have viewed travel in terms of internal versus external. There's been a lot of discussion lately around whether internal travel should even return, but it's more complex than that. Our model breaks down the purpose of travel into 3 interdependent buckets: organizational, people, and customer. Organizational could be audits, leadership meetings, meetings for mergers and acquisitions. People is recruitment and training and team building. And then customer is around acquisition and management and retention. These are just a few of the examples of the 30 subgroups that we identified. Each company will have its own variables to account for, depending on the culture of virtual versus in-person, the type of business they do, how individuals perform virtually versus in person, how clients want to work with them. Of course, failure to get the balance of travel right in organizational and people buckets will have an impact on customer. That's where the interdependence lies and why cutting internal travel is just not a sophisticated approach anymore. As a starting point for purposeful travel, we propose a virtual first or a Zoom to in-room exercise. This forces you to assume that everything is done virtually, and then travel type by travel type, you assess the value before moving it over to in-person. This requires stakeholder engagement to discuss the reasons for travel and the value of it with different business lines. It's not an easy approach and it's going to take work, but the results can be empowering for travel management and for suppliers. So what results and outcomes can the whole ecosystem expect if we move to more purposeful travel? What's the driver for doing this versus, say, just going with a 50% cut? By adopting a purposeful travel model, corporates can at last align with the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit. This can shift company mindset from cutting travel budgets in Q4 to investing in travel for more return. The role of the travel manager can become more strategic and more fulfilling in being viewed as a value-driving part of the organization. Travelers can have more balanced business trips as the reasons for their trips are more clearly defined, and they focus on quality over quantity. Suppliers can be seen as strategic partners who provide the products, services, and technology to enable purposeful travel and bring heightened value to organizations. Their data can also bring insights into how demand is shifting within companies. Business travel will not be the same. I hope it will be different because we can make it better. It's time to truly answer the question of why we travel for business. I think it's time to start down the pathway of purposeful travel. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Katie. Always insightful when you hear from somebody from Festive Road. They always make you think. So a couple things here. We've been tracking reason for travel for years, right? I think every record, okay, why are you going? Where are you going? What's different today? I mean, obviously we're in a post-pandemic world and people want to know more, but I'm curious about what's the difference between reason for travel and purpose for travel?
Sure, and to your point, Tony, yes, I agree. We've looked at some of the reasons in the past. I think now is a different environment, and I think work is just changing the way people work so much. There was someone who talked about how, in the past, certainly virtual has been around and it's had its opportunity to stick more, but because it's been such a long period, it's become more ingrained. It's become a habit now. So it's harder to somewhat break out of this. Mm-hmm. And so I think that because of that and other, trends around, how people are working, the company as a whole is just looking at assessing, how work is done in virtual versus in person. And so it just becomes an opportunity now to look more specifically at the purpose and not just, reasons in terms of, like I said, in my presentation, internal versus external. I see those always, oh, we should cut internal. And it's like, what's the basis around that? So I think a little bit more of an intelligent approach this time.
All right, and then second question is, who do you think who manages the process? Do you think it's historically that the travel manager is oversighting? Is it a line manager? Is it multiple people at a corporation to define the purpose and to say, okay, that's a definition of a purposeful trip, we're going to let it rip?
Mm-hmm. So I think it can start with travel. And I think travel has the opportunity to be the one to start that process, to propose it internally to leadership. Obviously, if you have leadership support for this type of approach, then you can gain more traction quickly. But I think it's going to, require that exercise of virtual versus in person with all the different stakeholders in your company to talk about those and assess the reasons for travel, and then consider, some of those different nuances for your company, depending on if you need to do your job in person, how the clients want to meet with you, and then I think it'll be interesting with individuals. I think we'll start to look at from a sales standpoint, who performs better if they can use virtual versus in person.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Katie. Thank you to all of our presenters today. Excellent job on the keynote, sticking to topic. I'm going to grab the screen back. And we're going to move on to part 2 of our presentation. Can somebody just tell me they're seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so who told you that? All right, told you guys a little bit about how it's going to work. But I want to get you started with some easy ones. Okay, so I'm going to look back at movie quotes. Now this is a pretty simple one, so anybody can just blurt out who said it. But frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Rhett Butler.
There you go. Rhett Butler to Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. But there's a second one here. This is actually Scott Salambrino to every woman that worked at GBTA. Okay, let's move on. Next, you had me at hello. Anybody?
in that movie with Tom Cruise. That was the girl.
Yeah. Okay. You're good. You're good. That's Renee Zellweger.
McGuire.
There you go. Jerry Maguire. Renee Zellweger to Tom Cruise and Jerry Maguire. But there is an alternative to this one as well. We heard from him earlier today. This is actually Jim Davidson to the owners of Esselia after the sale of Saberfeld. All right. Next up, third of the practice here. You guys are getting it very quickly. All right. How about this one? Say hello to my little friend.
Pacino, Scarface.
There you go. Al Pacino and Scarface. But this one is actually Bob Sullivan when he introduced Louis Magliaro to the new owners of the North Star Travel Group. Say hello to my little friend. That's what he said. Okay. All right. Next up, this is the last one of the prep round, and then we'll get into the serious stuff. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Anybody?
Godfather.
Very good.
Pacino as well.
Pacino in Godfather 3. That's correct. But this also applies, actually, because this would have been also a correct answer. It was Dave Hilfman after he accepted the role as interim executive director at GBT. Okay, enough with the fun stuff. Let's get serious now. So we're gonna change a little bit. The first quote is the future of less business travel. Who said this? My prediction would be that over 50% of business travel and over 30% of days in the office will go away.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
That is correct. It was Bill Gates. All right. So now, who wants to disagree or agree with Bill Gates? Who wants to start? Chickens? All of you? You all
I can actually
all
take.
thinking you're going to have Microsoft as a customer at some point, so you're not going to say anything?
I can take it. I
Go ahead, take it.
that first of all, it's hard to predict, right? When sometimes people are predicting stuff, I'm asking them if in December they thought what will happen in March, right? So I think it's generally hard to predict, but I actually think that if you think about the future of how people will work and the future of the office, you'll actually see something else. You'll see much more people coming together and meeting. And it actually introduces huge opportunity on the way that, you manage groups meetings, you manage events and stuff like that. So actually, I don't think that I think you'll see a change of behavior, and maybe the business travel as we knew it before COVID will go down to 90% to 80%, but you'll see new kind of business travel. So I actually completely disagree with this comment, and I would argue that that's exactly how the product team in TripActions is thinking.
Okay.
I might flip the metrics. Like, I might say 30% of business travel may take a different shape and go away, but 50% of days in the office, or companies that have people in office, that's what I actually think will go away. We're gonna see an emergence of, I don't know, office space and shopping malls turning into Amazon fulfillment centers, as an example, or WeWork outlets.
And because you'll have less maybe people in working in an office, you might have different type of travel required because people aren't leaving from an office, or they're needing to meet in different locations, or they don't even want to live near an office anymore, don't need to. So I think that'll impact the trends of travel, which could have impacts on the percentages then.
Absolutely. Length of trip might change as well. So you may go less often, but for longer, for multiple purposes. And people maybe even living abroad and traveling to actually go into the office. So there could be a number of different elements here.
So it sounds like
I believe in a lot of hybrid, different meetings will be hybrid now. Some will be in person, like I was at a meeting in Cincinnati recently. The rest will be virtual. So I think it's hybrid. I also think it's like when Amex GBT, for example, put together so you can meet in a hotel, and that's easily done for a corporate customer. I think these types of programs will be rolled out very quickly. I don't believe in a 50% decrease in business travel. I think it'll be different. I think there'll be higher approvals required. And I do think that, of course, there'll be more remote work, and virtual will be part of our day, but it may not be to that extent.
okay. All right, very good. So nobody sounded like they disagreed. We might disagree around the fringes relative to the percentages, but probably less business travel, more purposeful, and absolutely less days in the office. Okay, All right, let's go to who told you that number 2. The days of creating, this was relative to airline deals and NDC. The days of creating hyper-precise deals going after one additional point of share are gone. So of the days of 3-year deals, because we don't want to make commitments, but because it's difficult to project. It needs to be more dynamic. We also value the investment of NDC. So obviously, as an airline guy talking here, there's a surprising number of people working with us to develop their ability to get new solutions. Okay, so anybody want to get, this one's a little bit more obscure, but I want to get to the point generally. But anybody have a guess as to who might have said this? All right, I'm not going to belabor it. Mark Murin, a global head of sales, British Airways. So it's not surprising that an airline guy is basically saying the day of doing business in the similar way we did it are gone. So I want to start with Allison because she's the airline person. Are you still looking at share? How do you contemplate doing deals going forward? For our buyers in the audience.
Yes, we do look at share. And we do need to have goals, obviously, and mutual goals. Now, some of the goals can be behavioral goals, some of them can be share and revenue, and some of them can be by route, frankly, as well. But I do agree completely with Mark, who obviously is a great partner for us as we partner with and have a JB with IAG, that it does need to be more dynamic. And we've seen that during COVID, we have more interest than ever before in NDC. In fact, large airline consolidators are now connecting via NDC. Of course, the OTAs did it quite a long time ago. And we're getting more interest from corporate accounts who understand that the bundles that we can provide during NDC can actually really support their travel program. And so I completely agree with Mark. I do think there needs to be an understanding in some form of metrics, of course, around contracting, but people want to be able to quickly turn around and pivot, and NDC allows you that.
Michael, I want to go to you. You're a travel management company. How do you deal with the fragmented content NDC creates?
I think we've had a lot of work on the technical side, and the plumbing's kind of in place or getting there in a lot of different markets. But I think what now really has to happen is understanding the value that NDC can bring. So these corporate bundles you're mentioning, and making sure that the offer, the potential of NDC is there and delivering value to the corporates. Some of our customers are very happy to sort of move from one channel to another, but they want to see what the increase of value is in going from traditional to an NDC channel. It's not just price points. It could be things like increased flexibility in ticketing timelines and increased sort of additional add-ons for their travelers, right? Looking at the aspects we talked about around travel well-being and putting some of those elements into the corporate bundles.
Katie, as the consultant in the group, what are your buyers asking you about relative to airline deals, right? Again, is the window shorter? Am I lucky to get a deal? What's your thinking there?
So I think overall, the request for content has continued over this time. That's still, something we hear as a consistent question, whether it's your OBT you're talking to, your TMC you're talking to, the airline as well. But now it's, I want the content, but I want a better UX experience in being able to, take all of this content that's going to come through NDC, because a lot of corporates were able to get a lot of content, but then now you have the issue of not knowing what to choose or how it's viewed. And so I think it's aligning with both of those and having more conversations and strategic conversations with their airline partners about the content they want that's focused for their organization and in a format that, no matter what channel, as we've talked about today, is consumable for the travelers.
Anybody concerned about that? The fact that there's less flying being done, and as a result of that, there might be less discount being done? Did I just freeze the audience here, or did my video go bad? No, Nobody wants to comment. All right, we'll let it go. It's a bad question. Tracy, anything on from a Sabre perspective? Clearly you guys were vested in the NDC part. Is it?
Yeah, clearly we're vested in it. I mean, that's the whole concept we're talking about with intelligent offers. I think what the other panelists have said is the key is keeping at the end of the day in mind the end traveler and end customer. Where do they want to book? How do they want to book? And what workflows do we need to enable throughout that? And really, to Michael's point, extracting the value is, we've talked a lot, there's been a lot of pipes, but like, let's get to the point that it's actually extracting the real value that the ecosystem wants to see from that, particularly in the corporate channel. I think there's been a lot of work there done in the leisure channel more so particularly in the corporate channel.
So I'll offer it off to everybody. Do you think NDC, I mean, we had the 2020 thing and then we hit the pandemic, right? There were 21 airlines signed up to have 20% of their distribution done through NDC. I don't think anybody's tracking that anymore because we got in the middle of a pandemic. Do you think that's going to happen in 2021?
It's already happening for us, Tony. And so due to the type of leisure business that we have had during 2020 and frankly, a little surprisingly, as it's, of course, 90% of it's been leisure so far this year. And many of that is coming through customers like OTAs and others who do actually have NDC with us. So we're actually surpassed that.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to add something here. I think, you know, definitely as you go to 2021 and you're thinking about it, I think it's about the infrastructure first. So you have to have the infrastructure that knows to take a lot of different content, right? Whether it's content that comes from GDS or directly from the airline, whether it's NDC or Direct Connect, right? You need to bring all of this content in, and then your agents needs to be able to support it, right? So you have to have a completely different setup to actually deal with NDC. But once you are figuring out the infrastructure, then there is another challenge, which is super, super important challenge. How do you present it? And I think Katie actually touched it. How do you present this thing, right? You have now a lot of different content types and a lot of choice. And choice could be an amazing thing. You can see it in Amazon, and choice could be a mess, right? So I would argue that NDC goes very, very well with the new type of technologies that are out there, with the new types of data models, with machine learning, with AI. I would actually find it hard to believe that if a system is just based on some filters and what I would call the old UI of presenting flights on or hotels, that you can actually show and present NDC in the way that gives a lot of value to the customer. So for us, NDC was always a bet. It continues to be a bet. It's definitely almost like designed to the way that the TripActions platform works.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Who told you that? Number 3, this to the concept of new TMC pricing models. Over the last 4 months, many TMCs have been doing a lot of analysis and having conversations with their customers to discuss the current financial models in place. These arrangements do not work in a COVID-19 environment and need to change, both now and on a continuing basis, even after COVID-19. Anybody want to take a guess at who said this?
I remember reading it and now I can't remember the quote and I don't want to say it wrong.
It's okay, take a guess. You can say Al Pacino, it's okay. There's no wrong answers here.
That was a lot of right answers in the beginning, so I think that's wrong.
All right, well, it's actually Kevin O'Malley, CEO of Travel and Transport. But I think we've seen a number of TMC owners. American Express was pretty vocal about making some changes. And so, again, I posed this out to my panel here. What do you think is going to happen here? And Michael, I don't know if I want to save you for last or start with you, but what's the deal? Where do you think we're going here in terms of pricing?
I definitely think there will be change, and I don't necessarily think it's only because of the sort of pandemic or the COVID-19 environment. That's sort of been maybe the catalyst that'll drive a lot of this through. But if we're looking at sort of the changing environment, different players coming on board, different types of technology, right? I think there is going to be a need for change in this space, and find something that works a little bit better for all parties involved.
You know, TMCs are an important part of our, DNA for corporate travelers and for corporate travel managers to manage their program and assist them and enable them. And I think Kevin is spot on, because they need to actually have a profitable model. They need to be sustainable. That's for the good of the business model at this stage. So I think Kevin is always wise. And I think it's good he's being so transparent, frankly.
What's likely to, go ahead, Katie, and then I'll jump in.
I just was going to add that, to Michael's point, yes, this has been discussed, maybe a catalyst this year, discussions around subscription models, management fees, freemium models. But I think what it also comes back to in figuring out, what models work. Are there different ones for different corporations? Do you have to have that flexibility? But what are the value points of the TMC? Because I agree with Allison, there are definitely value points, but if they aren't delivered clearly to the customer and then aligned with what the pricing model is, then that's where you run into a challenge to actually implement that model. So I think if TMCs can more clearly define the value points and what appropriate models might, align with that, then I think this could move, forward more quickly.
Okay.
I actually 100% in agreement with Katie. I think the way that this thing is said, I actually disagree with that. I think it's not a pricing exercise. It's about the value that you're delivering to the customer. And if you feel that during COVID-19, you're delivering less value, you're not going to raise the prices. Okay. If you'll do that, you'll have less customers. And that's part of the reason that we are gaining so much market share. So I think you need to focus on the value that you're providing to your customers, and pricing comes later.
I completely agree with those comments. And I'll take a little bit of a different view as well. Not only is it not a pricing exercise, but I started in this industry in revenue management. And one of the things I used to say is you're only as smart and you're only as capable as pricing good as your dumbest competitor. And you can put this as a pricing exercise. You can say this is what we should do. You can get a great multiple. If it's not aligned with your true value, and if it's not consistent with the competitive landscape, it won't work. So if anything, to the point raised by kind of everyone on the panel, this has created a unique opportunity for all of us. It's a slap in the face that's a good one, that will wake us up and say, have we communicated it clearly? Do we know? Are we sure? And how do we make sure we price that? And I think, you always have to see the silver lining in any of these situations. And I hope for all of us, that is some of the silver lining that we remember that and we can come back and check that. But doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And certainly all of us in this ecosystem need to partner with the others to make sure that we can do this together to really make sure that value is realized and created from each.
Yeah, I like what Tracy said about doing it together. And I think Kevin is just trying to say here that he's looking after the health of his company, and also, of course, that CTM has just purchased, and also the fact that he wants to be there for his customers in the future. And I think it's okay that you do that, and we have to make hard decisions. And I don't think he meant to say that financial is all that is holds important. I think that he knows how valuable he is to his customers, frankly.
Yeah, clearly. All right, our final Who Told You That for today. We're going to focus on the golden age of events. So who told you that? Being virtual means higher in-person attendance when things come back. When the pandemic dies down and budgets get a little stronger, in the mid to long term, we'll start to go back to in-person, and then hybrid, combination virtual in-person events become stronger and the whole industry gets stronger. That's when we enter the golden age of events for our industry. Anybody want to take a guess here?
Did Reggie say that?
Bingo. Yeah, you'd think it would come from a guy that's in the business, but the broader question is, do we think this is a golden age for events? And is the golden age for events upon us, or is it 2 or 3 years away?
I don't think it's this
So
kind of.
I'd say, something we. Oh.
All right, we'll do Ariel quickly and then Katie.
I think it's a different kind of events. Kind of, I've touched in this earlier. If you imagine the new kind of office and much more flexibility, the events would be team offsites, sales conferences, design meetings. I think these are the events that we're going to see. So I think it's a different type of events than what we saw before COVID. And I do think that the other events will get back, right? It's really good to meet and so on, but I think you'll see a different type of events in the future.
Katie?
I think there's going to also be a lot more thought around the value of events from those that are attending. I know Eric Bailey from Microsoft was talking, about how there'll be probably a higher scrutiny of what events do I go to? What's the value I get from it? I think there is value. It's just now having that in mind, it'll put more pressure, I think, on those holding the different events to show that value. And I think we saw that this year too, and the switch to virtual, and there were so many virtual events, this summer. And I think a lot of them were just, well, we got to do it virtual because we can't in person.
There were too many virtual events.
Yeah. So now it seems like people are scaling back, stepping back and saying, well, what do we want to hold and what's the value of that? And I think it'll just be interesting to see from a strategy perspective, how you combine that next year with in-person and the value of it overall.
Yeah, I would agree. Katie, you mentioned purposeful travel, right? And I think people are going to look at what is the purpose of these events? Are we getting the value out of that? I think virtual or hybrid is probably here to stay in some form. And I think virtual events are a great way to disseminate information, but it's a harder way to network and exchange ideas. And so I think we're going to see sort of a change going to maybe some dissemination through virtual channels, maybe even sharing of content, post event or whatnot, but that need to get together, collaborate, meet with industry leaders, meet with colleagues, exchange ideas, and come away is something that people are yearning to get back to.
Anyone else? Because I want a couple of closers on this one. I want to dive into this event. Historically, the Beat Live has been a more intimate event, 100 to 150 people, usually senior executives, so C-suite, agency owners, high level people. And it was, a bunch of, let's say, senior execs getting in a room. The value that accrued over the couple of days that you did that event was not only the listening to smart people as we've done today, but it was also that engagement. That might be the only time that you get that opportunity to exec to sit down and talk over a beer somewhere, right? The event itself, again, 120, 150 people, it was not insignificant from a cost perspective. And I think it was part of the attraction was that we don't want a big event. We want an industry event. But when you look at today's event is probably 600 people strong. So my question to all of you is, do you think next year the Beat will have 500 people in person, or will we go back to 100 senior executives that pay a premium to attend and interact with each other? Is there a dynamic that's going to change relative to the way events are held and the type of events you go to?
I think there'll be a dynamic change in events overall, but if we talk about the Beat, I think, and I personally do hope, it goes back to that in a room, couple hundred people, relevant, real conversation, and not one that has to maybe change tones a little bit when you do have 700 people at all levels across all organizations online. That's a good event too, that adds value. It's just different than I think many of us have seen from the Beat event in years past.
I'd like to see a combination of the both. You have that in-room, in-person experience where you have extract that maximum amount of value, but perhaps there's certain sessions that can be distributed to a larger audience and get them to participate as well.
Yeah,
I really agree with Michelle on that, because that's where you can get the joy of extended reach and more people engaged as well. Like, I'd love to have more of the team here just experience, the Beat, and virtual can do that. So I think combination and hybrid, to Reggie's point, is the way of the future. I don't believe it's the golden age. I have to say though, we launched a group booking tool and we got 122 groups booked in the first 4 hours.
For someone who was involved in a company that did a very, very big event back from my Focusrite days, the trick really is making sure that you can attract enough people to maintain running profitable and very high-end events. That's the challenge I think we all face. This didn't cost anything, or so we don't think. It took our time, and a couple 700 people joined. So it's a little easier to do. But the viability, will GBTA have 6,000 or 7,000 delegates in 21? Will it have the same number of sponsors? Will it be a viable event that brings everybody together because of the economic impact of having less people there? So I kind of get the golden age thing. I'm not sure yet. I really want to see how it plays out. All right, with that, that's all I had actually. I'm going to do the last thing that I do when I'm running these things is I ask my subject matter experts to give me a prediction. Okay, so this is something that you think is going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months. It doesn't have to be scientifically based. It doesn't even have to be industry based. You can have fun with it, or you can be very dramatic. So I'm going to start in the top left as I'm looking at the box. Ariel, your prediction, something in the next 12 to 18 months. And it can't be about TripActions.
I think that 2021 is going to be the turnaround year. I think that people are craving meeting face to face, and there is this the same thing that you saw in consumer travel, you'll see in business travel, and probably at the second half of this year you'll see this coming together. And between vaccine, medications, testing, all of these things coming together. I think we'll all meet in person, and I think it will be great. It's what I think why we are all here.
All right, cool. Ariel, thank you. Katie, your prediction.
So the first part is that I think maybe Bill Gates will actually solve email spam.
Right, good one.
I don't know, we'll see. But no, I think I started to talk about it a little bit. This virtual versus in-person conversation, I think it's a measurement that's bigger than travel, that affects sales, how salespeople are going to perform. Can they do it quicker virtually versus in person, and what parts? From an HR perspective, how do people engage with the organization, and what's company culture like? So I think it's going to be a really interesting lens in which everything starts to be assessed. And then the dynamics that come from that across the organization will start to impact travel next year.
Excellent. Michael Rouse, prediction?
I think we are at some point, I can't say exactly when, but we are going to see a bump in travel. I think there's a lot of horses ready to get out of the gate, and whether it's for business reasons or personal reasons, going to see family, getting out of the house that I've stared at for the last 9 months. There's going to be, I think, a bump at some point. So get the planes out of the graveyard.
That's music to Allison's ears. Allison, your prediction?
Oh, I love Michelle's. And so I think the prediction is that the aviation industry are and will work together to deliver the vaccine across the world, because that's our duty and our service to consumers, not just one airline, all of us together.
Tracy, close us out with your prediction.
All right, I'll give first one. AI, ML are going to take over in ways we've never thought, seen, or predicted, and it's just going to continue to work its way into our life. So that's number one. Number two is there is going to be such a surge in leisure travel as soon as these things lift, because business budgets aside, we are going to want to get on a plane. And finally, I predict for all these Corona babies that are being born, Karen will be the least popular name that will be.
That's a good one. I like that. Karen as the least popular name for Corona babies. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Ariel, Tracy, Michelle, Allison, and Katie. Phenomenal job, guys. Thank you very much. Another great session at the Beat Live. And I'm going to turn it over now to Jay. Jay Bamer, are you out there?
Thank you.
There he is. Jay and Susan, over to you.
Thank you, Tony. And thank you to the Views panel. Also, thanks, Tony, for doing a little bit of a focus group for what the Beat Live should look like next year. A little hybrid, little virtual. We're listening. I hope we'll be back in some sort of form next year in person, but I like the idea of wrapping in a little bit of a virtual element to broaden the attendee base. So thank you for that. Tony, always a pleasure, always a joy to see the Views panel. So here we are, we're drawing the event to a close. I want to thank all of our panelists and speakers for joining us today. I'd like to thank our event sponsors for their support. And I'd like to thank all of the attendees for joining us live for the live stream. Hopefully it was worth your while. We look forward to seeing you in person next year. And last but not least, I have to thank Susan Lichtenstein. Sue, how you doing?
Hey, Jay, that was awesome. You're very welcome. I had a great time. This was great. Tony, you were funny. I have to admit it. You were really, really funny.
Now, funnier than you or just funny?
I think we scored equal this year. Those questions were pretty funny. Great panelists. I really enjoyed it. The funniest people were in the chat. They were always in the chat or in the attendees when we're live. I'll look forward to the hybrid event. And yeah, this was great. Thanks, Jay, for having me.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. I don't know about you, but I'm going to get my mug off everyone's screen and hop back into the chat and do some of the networking that I wasn't able to do before. So I'm about to sign off. Sue, any closing thoughts? Are you ready to sign off?
See you at the networking. Yeah, thanks again, everybody.
We'll see everyone soon.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and a better 2021 for all.
Bye.
All right, see ya.